On my stool while I share with you some things to look for with your background. Oh, maybe I'm not because look at that. That's another thing you see on people's camera. If you go to the camera section and I talk about where your camera needs to be, you see people like this. Okay. Don't do that. People want to see you. They don't want to see the top of your head. Okay. I won't be lazy. I will stand. So here's some things you want to look for in the background. You want to make sure nothing is growing out of the top of your head. What I mean is a plant, molding, and not mold, but like door molding. All you've got a door mold coming out of the top of your head. You've got a partial painting, anything that's growing out of the top of your head because it's in the background and people don't know what it is. I see that all the time. Of course, you don't want a window because you're being backlit. So you 1000% need to be facing the window, or most preferably kind of out of the window to the side a little bit so that you get a nicer wash if you don't have those curtains or whatever on them. So the other thing is really looking for clutter. So if you've got folded laundry, unless that's your look, like you're trying to be authentic, you want people to just be a part of your house and that's who you are, totally fine. But if it's not your brand, you're trying to be a little more professional, take a peek into your background, clean up your laundry, get the dirty dishes off, get the trash off, the piles of paper behind you on your desk, clean that up. Then, if you have a nice painting or anything like that that can kind of help balance, but make sure the painting, once again, isn't coming out of the top of your head. The painting needs to be here or here, not here, anything that's decorative. So anything at all. You don't want it coming right there. Um, Keeping it pretty simple and pretty clean. Now, a lot of people have bookshelves. If you've written a book, get your book up there and show it off. Anything like that, your credentials, get it up there and show it off. If you have anything with your logo, do that as well. Um, it really is an opportunity for you to show your personality and to show your uniquity, like who you are and what you have to share with them. But make sure they're not staring in the background with things that are distracting. And, if I was to turn the camera around, and so you could look at this with me speaking, right? But if I turn the camera around, let's see, here we go. And now I'm going to come in here and talk. It's way harder to pay. There's so much going on back there, which is easier to pay attention to, of course, this way. So really think through, what are you trying to communicate to your audience? Like, who do you want to be known as? Oh, let's try and get that back into focus. What do you want to be known as to them? And then what can support that with your background that's clear, not so cluttery, etc. If you are in a tiny, tiny, tiny space, I totally understand. Sometimes just a simple tweak of the camera or the laptop, whatever you're recording on, just do a slow move. You'll see that in my before and after backgrounds. Just sometimes the tiniest tweak can really help your background if you're in a teeny tiny limited space. So again, and then let's talk about green screen. Let's make green screen separate. We're going to make a whole separate thing on green screen.
But I'm going to show you what I have here. And also when it comes to the backgrounds, I have got a downloadable for you. It's a checklist so that when you go to push record, you can do just like a quick check in the camera to make sure your background looks okay, because it tells you what to look for. So I do want to tell you this quick story. One time I was on a podcast and it was videoed, and this lady had a very nice home, very, very successful. And in the middle of the podcast, her 20-some-year-old, 20 years younger boyfriend walks out into the kitchen naked. And I'm on the other side of the podcast going, oh my gosh, I don't want to see that. Okay, maybe I'm curious, but I don't want that burned in my brain. It's one of those things, right? It's like you have to look, but you don't want that in your head at all. And it was so shocking. But now with Zoom, everybody being on Zoom, or I watch YouTube videos and people's backgrounds, and they got like dirty clothes and dishes and garbage on the floor. I'm like, oh my goodness. Don't do that. It's just very, it just diminishes the quality of your videos. So I want to tell you about my setup here and why I landed doing what I'm doing here based on basically my experience with film, and then trying to video all different angles, and this just became the easiest for me. So I'm going to switch the camera around and show you what I've got. So what I have here is a paper backdrop. This is photography paper. And here's what happened. As I had mentioned, I tried a million different backgrounds and bookshelves and trying to make things look good, and I was never happy. I never felt like I popped out of the background enough to maintain an audience's attention for 45 minutes or an hour. Like, who would want to stare at that? So I finally called my director friend. He's one of my favorite directors. He just does amazing work. And I said, can you come and help me? He showed up. Oh, because I was going to do a green screen, which we will talk about green screen. I showed up, we talked about green screen, he explained all the reasons he hates it, and he said, Stacy, really the best backdrop you can get is a paper roll backdrop. And the reason is the way that it lights and the way that it hangs. It's made for camera. So it's heavy, it hangs taut, it reflects the lights well, and it's also, you know, removable and adjustable. So what I have rolls back here. I have pink, I have white, and then I also have several rolls in my closet. And then I have a stand. This particular, and he told me, get the 96-inch rolls, nothing smaller. So I did what he said, but because I'm cheap, I actually got this on Facebook Marketplace. Yes, I did. So the stand is a $250 stand normally, because the paper rolls are heavy. And I knew the name of like a really high rated one. I looked it up, and then I typed it in Facebook Marketplace, and it was a photographer just getting rid of stuff. And so she had the stand, and then it was another photographer studio going out of business that had the paper rolls. Now I have bought replacement of these on B&H Photo. It's expensive, but they last forever. So you can see there's quite a big roll there. Once it gets wrinkled, it's pretty unusable. Like, you need to cut it across and then pull it down. But I love it. Here, let me switch this. I love it because of a couple things. He was absolutely right about the lighting of it. It is so easy to light compared to a white wall or a green screen or any of those things. You can see that. It's a great lighting. I also love the versatility in being able to switch the colors. So blue and pink are in my branding photos on my website. So when I go to virtually speak, it's awesome because I'm my brand. Like, that's what they saw when they hired me on my website. And switching them out isn't that hard. I don't like switching them out because I don't like ruining the paper below. As I mentioned before, once it gets wrinkled, and I'm always like, can I save it? So it's stupid, I know. But I'm thrilled with these.